Currently, and I want to talk a little bit about public assistance funding. Currently, funding for projects relating to long-term recovery from Hurricane Katrina is still being distributed, including, for example, the almost $24.5 million in additional federal grants being made available to the Louisiana Office of Facility Planning and Control for Katrina work at Jackson Barracks, or the $10.9 million in federal aid for Katrina-related recovery efforts at the fire stations across southeast Louisiana. How do you see organizations such as FEMA functioning in a manner conducive to promoting positive spending in federal grants in an effective way, and what kind of changes have been implemented to make sure this money gets where it needs to be in a quicker, more efficient manner?
I think that, again, with the experience that the employees have here, particularly in public assistance, that they are learning and have learned and now have that knowledge to go forward with. One of the things that's been done here in Louisiana, because of the magnitude, the fact that in New Orleans alone there are more than 300 projects, either alternate projects or improved projects, that still need to be dealt with and work through the system, that they're looking at how we can efficiently and effectively help the city recover. And some of the things that have been done, one of the programs, for instance, is the Recovery School District program, where there were approximately almost 130 schools in the city that were destroyed, that needed to be replaced and or repaired. What the city asked to do, because the population has changed and some of these schools were in areas where there weren't the population to support the school anymore, is to ask to combine those into one system. And so FEMA has agreed, and what came about through legislation that Senator Landrieu put into effect, that allowed them to pool those dollars and put it together and come up with approximately 90 schools and put them in the places where they felt they needed to be, instead of saying you must build back that exact school that was destroyed. Another instance of FEMA trying to be sensitive to the needs of the community and looking at rules, regulations, and policies and law was, in the old days, it would have said if you have a chalkboard, you must replace that chalkboard, right, and the chalk and the erasers. Now they're saying we don't use chalkboards anymore, so it doesn't make sense to put back exactly what was there. We need the white erase boards. So it's those kinds of things where the law may have in the past been so restrictive, or the rules or the regs, and now we're looking at those creatively and trying to say, how can we interpret these to best serve the needs of the facility or the organization that we're trying to help recover. So that's one of those ways. Why build back schools in an area where the population is changing and there aren't enough children to support a school, but put it in an area where the schools are needed, that makes sense, that's effective use of taxpayer dollars and effective use of making the system, the educational system, the best it can be as New Orleans recovers from the worst disaster and obviously destroyed their entire education system.
So the traditional mantra for FEMA employees that you should be FEMA flexible is now being applied by FEMA itself to changes in community circumstances and with an awareness of what the local needs are, probably more than ever before.
Absolutely. And I think that the Hurricane Katrina and this destruction down here has been the modus of operandi now that people are going to start using to say, that we do need to be flexible, and that these hard and fast rules that used to seem to make sense and people were able to function within them, because you might only have a couple buildings, you might only have a few places you were dealing with in a storm where a tornado came through or even a hurricane. But now, because of the hugeness of this disaster, you've had to look at an entire city's educational system. Probably has not happened. It might have been a school or two schools, but an entire system serving a population of, at one time, over 1 million people. And that's a pretty devastating thing, and it takes some creativity to try and build that back most efficiently and effectively.
It certainly does. Paddy, Buratto, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.